Yes, I've been to a couple of good Cinco de Mayo parties in my life. It was just an excuse to get together with my, on Twitter. Spent 6 months and $3 million on a new logo. Now, there is the logo you see right there. It's the word kind, K-I-N-D, underneath the, I don't know, what is it? Just the orange, the red, the green, and the blue. That's it. And after 6 months of development and millions of dollars, here is the new logo. They simply move K-I-N-D up into the colors instead of underneath it. Now, I actually think it's a better logo. I really do. I think it is actually improved. But 6 months, $3 million. You want to talk about just the waste on committees. $3 million. Oh my gosh. What some of us can do with 2% of that money in 100% less time than 6 months. That's just insane, man. 6 months, $3 million. They moved the kind up, what? An inch, too? So, $1 million per inch. That's what she said. All right, moving on to this. Ars Technica. Rest in peace, Skype. It's finally gone. Survived by multiple versions of Microsoft Teams. They got in touch with me over the last week. Obviously, not personally. Just saying, hey, if you want your Skype phone service, a lot of it is going to be rolled into this particular thing. I said, I don't need it. But what I do have, ladies and gentlemen, to cut down on cost, I got rid of the second hotline in a row from Zoom, and I found something that is going to work, I think, even better, and for free. So I have a new hotline number. What is the hotline number, actually? This is it. There's the new hotline number. For those of you saving all the numbers in your phone, 914-359-4853. It's not on right now, but whenever we do have guests and we start taking your calls, or whenever we're trying to do two lines at a time. Yes, I know. It's the third hotline number in 3 weeks. Whatever. I'm trying new things out, and it'll be okay. Here's another thing I thought was funny for all you gamers out there. I played Grand Theft Auto. I remember when Grand Theft Auto 5 came out, like 8,000 years ago. Well, Grand Theft Auto 6 is now being delayed another year. And you should see some of the comments. It's now set to release on May 26th of 2026. People are like, you just keep it. We don't care. We don't want it anymore. Please just keep it. Everybody else just giving examples of how much of the time has passed. This one guy says, I was 17 when GTA 5 came out. I'll be 30 years old when GTA 6 comes out. It is nuts. It's crazy. Then again, we did get Red Dead Redemption 2 in the middle of it all. So that's pretty cool. But this is stupid. It's one of those things where when you hype up the joke too much and then it falls flat, unless the point of the joke is for it to fall flat. But I don't know. So there's that. Here's another thing I wanted to show you real quick before we get started tonight. This guy put out a nearly 2-minute long video. I saw this on a financial dystopia channel on Twitter. This guy shows how much it cost for a day at Disney for a family of 5. Are you ready for this breakdown? You ready for the cost breakdown here? Take a listen to this.
Here's what a day at Disney cost me for a family of 5. Before we even got into the park, it cost me $30 just for parking. And even being a Florida resident, tickets for a family of 5 with one child under 10 was still $974. Paying for the Lightning Lane was $35 per person and only would have given us speed access to 3 rides, so we opted out of that. Right after our first ride, we bought 2 waters and 3 ice creams. This totaled $29.50. After the second ride, they wanted a pretzel and I wanted a beer. This was another $19. This guy right here wanted a lightsaber for $44.99, but I was a hard no. After that, it was time for lunch, so we went to the Brown Derby where we could sit down for a little bit and order a decent meal.
I was at the Brown Derby back in 1993. I remember that. That's when I learned about how important, how iconic the original Brown Derby was.
They didn't like the options and the prices were outrageous, so we left and went somewhere else. We each ended up with a small pizza, each had a side and a small drink, totaling $44.35. After lunch, we took off, awaited more lines, and we also met a few characters along the way. Once we got to Star Wars Land, we had to buy some blue milk for $10.29. It tasted like a slushie with nerds on top.
Oh, that sucks. That sucks. You know, as a Star Wars fan, I always wondered what the blue milk at Owen Lars's house in Tatooine tasted like. And I always thought that it tasted like just a blue version of strawberry milk. Like if you know when you like would take the Nesquik back in the day, I like strawberry milkshakes. I like strawberry ice cream. So, but you know, strawberry milk in particular, I always thought it would taste like strawberry milk, but it would just be blue. To hear that was a slushy, that would really piss me off. That would really piss me off.
We took a few minutes to meet Kylo Ren.
Your courage will be tested and rewarded.
The kids then snuck away and bought some Star Wars Coca-Cola. This was $6.50, but this guy said it was worth it. After the next ride, we went and had a churro, a water, and a margarita. It had been a long day at this point. That margarita was well needed. This was another $36. And just as I thought the day was finally over, the rest of the family decided they want to go to dinner at downtown Disney Springs. This place was my literal hell. It was shoulder to shoulder in every store and restaurant. We ended up at the Formata Cocina for some Mexican food. $30 for carnitas, $19 margarita, $8 corn, $30 carne asada, and then each of the kids with drinks and food were an additional $30 to $40 each, totaling $245.27 for dinner. There was some sticker shock here, and right after that...
That's pretty good. I've paid $245 for dinner just for me, Lauren, and Aurora.
They all wanted to go shop. Luckily, it was getting late, and we decided to not go into any stores. The grand total for our day was $1,391.91.
Good golly, Miss Molly. Whew. Woo. Wow. That's just nuts. Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to say. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. So... what's the most expensive vacation you had? I know that we've done vacations from hell before. You can call in with things like that, things that just shocked you on vacation. You got caught in a situation that you just, I couldn't get out of it. But you did it for the kids. Anyway, let's get this one started. We'll be right back.
We bring in the studio this morning one of the gay rights activists, Mr. Should I call you Mr? Pepe Julian Onzima. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you for
Good morning.
Me. Morning to you.
Why are you gay?
Who says I'm gay?
You are gay.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's roll!
Okay. All right, let's get this going, shall we? So what'd you think about Donald Trump and the Pope outfit? The vestments and all that stuff. What is that? Make the papacy great again? What we're talking about here? From all the reading I've been doing recently, Pius X was pretty badass. So it's not too long ago. That was just right at the turn of the 20th century. Oh man. It's the gaslighting. It's the obfuscation. It's all of the hysterics from people who on any other day are so fully committed to hating every representation of the Christian faith, no matter where the hell it is. And then on every other day, all the denominations go to war with each other. But that's what just happens. This is what everybody saw the other day. A couple days ago, it was posted all over the place. And Pope Trump the First, Pope Donald the First. And immediately we started getting all this other stuff. From Travis Akers? I'm not Catholic, so I will ask my Catholic friends and followers. Does this picture offend you? You know what? I'm sure that there are a lot of conservative Catholics that would say, "Hey, back off, behave. I support you a certain way, a certain play. Do your job and get the hell out of here." With that. But I got to say, it doesn't offend me nearly as much as Francis's pontificate did. So, and I mean, I'm Catholic, and I've called him Poop Francis for how many years now? All right. So I'm not just pretending to not be totally devastated by this. It's just one of those things for me. Here's another one, Lawrence O'Donnell, the guy that blows up on people and destroys studios. Lawrence O'Donnell goes, "Okay, Trump defenders, tell us exactly what you'd do if Biden did this." I got to be honest with you. Biden did worse than this. Trump, a non-Catholic, dressing in an AI Pope costume. Biden did worse than this every time that he received communion as an unapologetic promoter of abortion and child mutilation. Every time that he received communion, it was far worse than this. Okay? So let's all just be measured here. Let's all be measured here. These are the same people who in 2016, going into 2017, were like, Stormy Daniels, huh? Huh? After they just supported a Clinton for president. It's like, please don't talk to us about morality. Please don't try to temporarily create some kind of a political bonding moment with Catholics, with Christians, with all. Please try, just stop. Control yourself. All right, Lawrence O'Donnell. What a freak. Yeah. I don't know. We talked a lot about Francis over the years. And it's not just, slapping little old ladies on the back of the hand or anything like that. I mean, we were talking about it with the Abu Dhabi. You remember the Abu Dhabi get together out there? The declaration? So many times he stood on really, really heretical grounds about pluralism and all that stuff. The diversity of religions was willed by God. You remember that? God in his wisdom. The diversity of the religions. God brought forth religions that deny his son, right? So now if you're an atheist and you look out into the world and you see diversity of religion by way of culture, whatever the hell it is, I know that that's one of those intellectual barriers to entry when it comes to faith. That's a barrier to entry. Who's got it right and why? What makes you more right than, the ancient culture that worships this way for 4,000 years on the other side of the planet that didn't hear about your religion or the New Testament or the Old Testament or whatever? I understand that. But that's not where we're coming from on this, because even if you get there, like I said before, even if you make your way, you find Christianity, it finds you. Then the big question is, which denomination is right? Never ends. If you're living your faith and you hear this pluralistic statement made, how can you not see it as anything else than somebody who's diluting that? Oh, everything could be right. Everybody could be right at the same time while it's not complete. I don't know. So that's the Abu Dhabi Declaration. It made a lot of people go, excuse me? Pluralism? You shouldn't even be going to this damn thing. So the deep state, the deep church, the New World Order, one world religion crowd, that was seen as a major, public PR stunt to move that consciousness along. Whether that trickles down to everybody down the line, down to the average, parishioner, who knows? That according to faith, certainly there are very liberal people out there who consider themselves Catholics that they probably cringe over the course of Lent I know around here it's 40 days for life. 40 days life, 40 days of life for life. And it just kind of, it mirrors Lent, but also a fight against abortion and denying it at every turn. I can imagine how many Catholics wince when they see that walking into church on Sunday. So there's a huge cultural divide that is just ruining a lot of things here. It's part of what happened on Piers Morgan's podcast the other day when Jay Dyer was on there. Jay Dyer was flanked between some black liberation bishop guy that Jay kept calling Bishop Tilda Swinton. And then on the other side, some Anglican priest that they were both so in the pocket for liberation theology, as Jay would say on this show, every show. It's part of, his analysis of what's really gripped the entire faith. But also just progressivism and the progressivism of this particular pope and how it aligns with trends in the world, world culture, the dominant pop culture. So it's an interesting thing there. Then, of course, there's the Pachamama, the Amazon fertility goddess that was brought into Rome. That one brave soul took out and threw it into the river out there. That was nice. I don't know. There's a lot. Expressing strange levels of confusion between the whole idea of whether there's a hell and whether there's punishment, or if you were a bad person, your soul just disappears and there is no, I don't know. So you had the unstable Lawrence O'Donnell out there, wants that all. This is another one. Governor Kathy Hochul. Oh, Kathy. Kathy said, "This is deeply offensive to me and to my fellow Catholics around the world as we continue to mourn our beloved Pope Francis." Kathy Hochul. "As a Catholic, I'm saddened and shocked. I almost lost my shit when I heard the news." This is Cat. I had to go and grab this media. I had to go grab this because, again, I'm old enough to remember when this beaver woman made herself pope or something of the sort, declaring that the vaccine was from God and that God has commanded us to take the vaccine, that taking the vaccine is what God wants. She's speaking on the behalf of God. Okay. Even popes don't do that. And went on to urge New Yorkers to be her apostles. I'm not taking anything out of context. Just listen to it.
I prayed a lot to God during this time. And you know what? God did answer our prayers. He made the smartest men and women, the scientists, the doctors, the researchers. He made them come up with a vaccine that is from God to us. And we must say, thank you, God. Thank you. And I wear my vaccinated necklace all the time to say, I'm vaccinated. All of you. Yes, I know you're vaccinated. You're the smart ones. But there's people out there who aren't listening to God and what God wants. You know this. You know who they are. I need you to be my apostles.
Be my apostles. Go out there, be my apostles. When together we can explode so many 8-year-olds' hearts together. All right? So everybody's just, I can't believe what he's done. He's wearing a Pope costume. So it's just ridiculous. It's extra ironic in Kathy Hochul's situation because Trump is in large part the bringer of the vaccine. So is this an early acknowledgement of Trump's divine authority by none other than Kathy Hochul? Spooky. That would be real spooky. This is almost like prophecy playing out. But other than that, just remember about the drag queen nuns at Dodger Stadium 2 years ago who were asked not to be there for some kind of a June Pride night, whatever. People are like, please, no, we don't want this. They were asked not to be there. And then Dodger Stadium said, no, please come back, invited them back. And then the drag queens dressed as nuns. What is it? The Sisters of indulgence or something like that. It was all fine and dandy. That level of sacrilege is fine. Okay? Forget about the fat transsexuals at the Olympics opening ceremony. Oh, relax, Frank. It was Bacchanalia. Yeah. Perfect excuse that gave the producers a wonderfully obtuse cover for pushing out the more widely recognizable depiction of Da Vinci's Last Supper that we saw there. So these are the things that make me wince when Trump does them. Makes me wince, no doubt about it. But at the same time, when I see the fake outrage from the libs, I'm just like, first of all, I think about Winston Churchill. What do they say? You know, during the Second World War, Winston Churchill was asked about his temporary alliance with Joseph Stalin and the communists to be able to defeat Hitler. And Churchill famously said, I wrote it down over here, if Hitler invaded hell, I would make at least a favorable reference to the devil in the House of Commons. Okay? Well, for liberals in 2025, for liberals on the first weekend of May 2025, Hitler is Trump, of course, and the devil is God Almighty himself. Because now they're completely flabbergasted at how he would offend such a beautiful and honorable faith, you know? So there's a temporary pause in fire to have this slimy little political bonding moment with as many Catholics as possible over Donald Trump. That's what I can't. And then they'll go right back to throwing Christians in jail for saying silent prayers in front of Planned Parenthood. They'll go right back to that. Next week, they'll throw you in jail for saying a silent prayer. You don't even have to vocalize it. You'll just be standing there with your eyes shut. They'll take it as a prayer and away you go. That's who they are. But okay, we'll get into a big food fight over this. Anyway, you can call in on that. Let me know what you think. Tomorrow we'll have plenty to say about the actual conclave with Leo Zagami. I'm going to put the lines open right now. It's 914-200-0269. And then the rest of the way, I'd love to talk about just what you feel about Trump's first 100 days. A little bit of a current events night, but you can bring the news to me. I have plenty over here that I can click on, but I just want to know what you think. 914-200-0269. And while you guys are firing up your phones, let's go to the Vigilant Fox. The Vigilant Fox put out a little bit of a thread. This one is on Victor Davis Hanson. His thoughts in the first 100 days. Now, he is lauding the president and saying that it was actually a jaw-dropping, revolutionary first 100 days. Let's take a listen to what he says. Here we go.
He has completely reversed 10,000 people coming in a day, over 300,000 a month, 12 million in 4 years, to essentially 98% of the border is secure. In fact, there is no open border now. Now he has pivoted to try to address the 12 million people that Joe Biden not only let in, but scattered all over the United States on often state, federal, local subsidy. That's going to be a task. But he has shut the border. No comprehensive immigration reform. None of the things they said was necessary. None of the things that said that it was impossible, that hampered by. He just did it. We've never seen anything like it.
Now, that is true. And it is also true that people are scattered all over the place because they were being scattered by cover of nightfall. I live only a couple of miles away from a major distribution center. Okay? Westchester County Airport into Costco parking lot. That's what it was. Boarded onto planes that would fly into Westchester County Airport between 2 and 4 in the morning. They would get onto Peter Pan buses and be brought 3 miles down the road to Costco parking lot, where they would be sent all around to Ossining, to Mount Vernon, all over the place, to sleepy little Westchester, New York towns who didn't even know that there was an invasion going on, an invasion force. Very quietly, it was being done. Now, I don't know what they had to have thought, that there needs to be some sort of a hedge against these people being removed. So I don't know where it's going to go, but I'm sure it is a task. Today, we got news that there's going to be a $1,000, hey, we're going to pay you $1,000 of self-deport. The math that was presented to the public is that each person that is rounded up and gone through the legal process of deportation is like $17,000 a person, which is crazy because that is about how much each American student in this country has allotted to them federally. You know, when it breaks down, every student, that's why, you know, people who are all for school choice are just like, hey, listen, just give me the $17,000 and I'll take my child to a better school. Just give us the option to spend that money elsewhere if we have to spend it at all. Well, apparently, it's just about as much to put a child through a year of school as it is to take somebody who should not be here and just get them out. I went on, I mean, maybe it's gone up a little bit because, you know, things always fluctuate in price. But I remember about a year or two ago, I went and I checked out what was the cost of a bus ticket from New York to Mexico City. And it was somewhere around $500. Like, you get to spend anything. I mean, you can make this very economical. Very economical. Get them a bus ticket. Make sure that nobody gets off the bus. Pack it with tons of chewy granola bars so you have snacks along the way. Out you go. And you can start with all of the hotels in New York City and Chicago and elsewhere. I mean, you don't even have to look, oh, where is everybody? They've been scattered all over the place. They have, but there's also been like permanent buildings set up in major metropolitan areas all over the place. And if it weren't for Trump winning, it seems like far more buildings were going to be converted to be able to house more foreign nationals until some political amnesty movement gave them all a reason to breathe easy and everything else. I mean, something was going on here. But what do you think about that? $1,000 to leave? Would you even pay that much? Anyway, there's a little bit from Victor Davis Hanson on the border issue. Next up is energy. Here is Hanson said that Trump hasn't just altered American energy strategy, he's completely transformed it. Let's listen.
He has revolutionized energy. There is no new Green Deal. There's no electric vehicle mandate. We're not going to be funding more boondoggles of high-speed rail. We're going to burn clean coal, restore the Appalachian coal fields, those in the West as well. We're leasing out new oil fields. We're trying to get liquid natural gas shipped to Europe that's in dire need of it. We're continuing fracking. We're producing so much energy that the price of oil has gone. At one point in the Biden administration, was $120 a barrel. It's down to almost $60. And by the way, he's not draining the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, and he won't do that before a midterm. If anything, he will begin filling it again pretty soon.
Okay, so let me ask you this. I understand that state to state, there are gas taxes that fluctuate however much. And that $120 barrels of oil, you know, down to 60, you refine it, you get your gasoline, and then you start shipping it all over the place. There's the cost of shipping. There's the state's gas tax. There's everything. I know that there's a lot that goes into a gallon of gasoline. But have you seen anything that changed with gasoline? I actually have not even taken note. We've been living in the $3 plus area for so long. I think I would have noticed it if we were sub $3. I would love to see that again. I haven't noticed it. I'm going to start looking around a little bit more. But what about by you? How have you been feeling this impact? Has there been impact on your groceries, on your gas, on anything noticeable yet? It's 100 days. You know, policies then start, you know, policies. And then the other thing is their executive orders. I understand that that's just, it's like, you know, what are you going to do? One guy and a completely miserable Congress. It's miserable Congress. It's miserable. It's a situation it's just not good. It's not good for anybody that wants to do something good. You know, Republicans and Democrats, they are progressive parties. They are progressive parties. One a little bit more so than the other, which means that they're both very progressive parties. but it's just obvious to me that here that there's not really a lot of need to move. So I want to know, have you felt it? Have you felt it on that end? I got to take a look at it. Onward. Let's see here. Mini Revolution. He was talking about DEI and essentially affirmative action and the new term for affirmative action. Here, listen to this.
On the DEI front, he didn't have to get into DEI. That's the third rail. He just said it's over with because it violates the recent Supreme Court ruling that found that Harvard and the University of North Carolina were culpable for racist practices against Asian American applicants. The law is on Donald Trump's side. The court decisions are on Donald Trump's side. And now DEI is being purged from government auspices and private corporations. Everybody says, well, I'm Rip Van Winkle. I woke up. What were we doing? We were doing exactly the opposite of what Martin Luther King. We were judging people by the color of their skin, by their superficial appearance, not the content of their character. That is a revolution.
Yeah, I guess. Again, how permanent is it going to be? And remember, a lot of those things, when we were talking a lot about ESG, we were talking a lot about BlackRock when we were starting to get very acquainted with Vanguard and BlackRock and Larry Fink and how many companies they actually had control over because of how much money they lent out. And just like when you take government money, you have to abide by government mandates. Especially, we were learning about that. Not only that's another reason why even school choice is one of those poison pills. If the money is going to be spent, obviously, it's better to have some flexibility in where you can bring your child to school. But the money being spent in and of itself, even Chris Ann Hall on this show and others, we've talked about this, whether it's the PPP fund that came out of COVID, where a business wanted to stay afloat, but they were drowning because nobody's allowed to go shop in their place. They have to do everything contactless, whatever. They're just looking to survive. So they get into a deal with the devil. And the government not only gives them money, but they also give them new rules of operation. If you're going to take this money, you're going to operate your business like this or whatever. And suddenly you lose a lot of control of your business. Same thing happens with a lot of the federal education money that everybody is saying is going to be redirected toward homeschoolers and everything like that. Chris Ann Hall is just like, don't touch that money. Don't touch that money. Because what the hell are you going to have to prove, and what standards are you going to have to hit? And what kind of auditing and state testing are you going to have to, give your child over to? And what are the consequences for taking money from the government, which is not even theirs? I want to talk about that. I was even reading into the state of the debt right now. Oh, every once in a while I check in on it because, again, how much you going to hem and haw over how bad the spending is every day. But it's still just so ironic to me that I think that the interest on the debt is well over $1 trillion a year, and that we take out loans. We take out a loan from the central bank to pay the interest on the debt to the central bank. So the interest, we're not even talking about the principal, the interest on the debt is being paid by way of loans, which will carry its own interest somewhere down the line. And not too far down the line either. Just like, somebody hurry up. Stop spending money. Somebody hurry up. Get into a fight. Get into a big, ugly fight. What the hell is it? I mean, this is why another reason why I'm not the best person to ever go into politics. I can't play. I'd rather just be in my own domain where if I have an idea, I get together with my friends, my teammates, my colleagues, whatever the hell it is, and say, how do we make this happen? Let's go for it. And we just do it. Even if we do it sloppily at first, at least we get it done. We can't keep preparing to prepare, So anyway, so that's the third rail. He says DEI. Here's another one on the economy. Victor Davis Hanson.
Everybody said he wiped out the stock market because he insisted on not just free trade, but fair trade. And he said he was going to sanction China, and he did. Now, all of a sudden, we have 70 countries trying to negotiate. And as I'm speaking, nations such as Italy or Japan want to make a deal. What is a deal? A deal is they're not going to run up surpluses at the same extent. We have a $1.1 trillion trade deficit. Donald Trump is going to get in the next few weeks a few major nations. And once he does, to make a deal, all the others will not want to be without a chair when the music stops. They will want to follow. When they follow, China will be eager to negotiate because its efforts to get Europe on its side have failed. Everybody said he wiped.
Okay. There's that. We will see on that one. On foreign policy, Trump is restoring American strength and making peace possible again. Now we're going to listen to this, but we're going to be listening to it on a day that we see that there's, increased bombing of, in Yemen from the Israelis. There is more saber rattling going on now with Iran. Apparently, Pete Hegseth is a little bit more pro-war, or at least wants to make it seem like he is. Ukraine, we're 100 days in, and I got this headline out of the Telegraph today: the U.S. to send more weapons to Ukraine. That's a really easy war to wrap up. I'm not sending any more weapons. You have enough money. Yeah, sure, take a mineral deal to start taking back everything we put in. But sign on the dotted line, you're not getting these lands back, and there's no NATO. That's it. That's it. And if you don't do that, we're just going to leave. We're just leaving. We're just leaving. What are they going to do? Start World War III without the United States backing? It's just, I don't know. It's ridiculous to me. Again, I'm impatient, but what do you think about it? All right. So again, the lines are open. 914-200-0269. I know I'm going through a lot of things right now. Perhaps you're all taking notes, but give me a buzz. Here is on strategy around the world and peace. Here you go. Listen to this.
If you look very quickly abroad, Donald Trump is still trying to find peace, and no, he's not Putin's puppet. He's been very tough on Putin. He suggests he would have a secondary oil boycott on nations that bought Russian oil. It's something Biden never imagined. But he is getting frustrated by both sides, and he's putting renewed pressure. In the Middle East, Iran is at its weakest point. Israel's ready to take out the nuclear facilities to the extent it cannot without sophisticated heavy bombers. And Donald Trump is not looking for an optional war. He's telling the Iranians, time is running out, settle, dismantle your nuclear facilities or else. The Red Sea is open for navigation. The Houthis are in retreat.
Again. Nobody ever really made it clear to me what the Iranians are doing with these nuclear facilities. They're enriching for weaponry and all that other stuff, and what kind of wars are going to be fought over this. It's not just an easy answer for me. It's not a cop-out. I just don't care. I just don't care. And I feel like if the United States were not involved with everyone, everywhere, at any time, a lot more of this bullshit and all this drama would just be a lot less in your face. Because then all the players, especially Israel, all the players, but especially Israel, when we're talking about the Middle East, they just would not be so, I don't know. I just don't know. Self-assured or whatever, because there's the United States manufacturing behind them and all that other stuff. I don't get it. I do not get it. So we've been hearing so much about North Korea and their nuclear, whatever happened with that? What the hell ever happened with that? Apparently they were constantly testing nukes and they're always firing things over Japan. And there was, was there a dismantling of the North Korean nuclear program? I don't remember that. I just remember there being, puffed up tension and then deflated and eased tension, and then tension rises and tension. I never heard anything about there being some sort of a surrender. all the people who were supposedly in power over there still are. So I don't get it. I don't get it. Now, when it comes to the Middle East, obviously somebody's looking for a fight. Fights are like, that seems like the be all end all out there. I just don't want to be a part of it. I just wondered how things would play out if we weren't constantly holding down one side of the scale. That would be interesting to listen to. All right, let's take a call. Hey, Mike Rogan, go ahead.
Frank, it's so good to talk to you, man.
Good to hear from you.
First, just a compliment. I thought that was some wonderful journalism you actually did by giving those details about the flights coming into Westchester County Airport, that they were taken on Peter Pan buses to Costco.
Oh, yeah.
I knew about the middle of the night thing. I've used that airport many times. I grew up in Rockland County.
Okay.
But I'm in Indiana now. But, I've got all kinds of thoughts on the Pope situation, but I don't know.
Give me your hottest one.
Praying to God every day. We have a good Pope. I pray for the repose of the soul of Jorge Bergoglio, and I don't think we want Paroline.
Are you talking about who's this?
Pietro Paroline. He's the Secretary of State of Vatican City.
Okay, I haven't heard that name before. I've heard the Chinese one, or the one that the CCP supposedly likes, and there's another one I forget. But I don't know. As so many people have broken down, you're talking about 130 or so cardinals, and 80% of them are appointed by Francis, and they say that doesn't necessarily say that all 80% of them are going to be New World Order progressives, but
right.
I don't see how there's going to be anything less than a strong majority.
Did you see that Tim Gordon had Dr. Ed Mazza on a few days ago, and Dr. Mazza put out what he calls the innocent option, and Tim Gordon calls it the Mazza method. But apparently around 1100, there was a conclave. Pope Honorius II died, and the few that were around him didn't tell the rest of the cardinals that he had died, and they held a secret conclave with just a handful of them, and they elected Pope Innocent. And as soon as the other cardinals found out, they had their own conclave on the same day, and they elected Anacletus II. Well, Innocent was railed out of the city. He's the guy who turns out to be the real pope. Anacletus reigns for 8 years as pope in Rome, but while Innocent is away, he gets the heavy hitters to support him, including St. Bernard of Clairvaux, the leaders of the kingdoms of, I want to say, France, England, maybe another, and he's able to come back in, and Anacletus dies, I think, and Innocent is able to come back in.
Okay, so what you're saying is that there is a way, and it's been proven 1,000 years ago that there could be an end around to the kind of court stacking that's been done over the last few years, and that they were going over that history on Tim Gordon's show.
Yes.
Okay. Well,
that is one method. That I don't know if that's the way to go, if it even has a high likelihood, but I know it's what Gordon is pushing. And I like Dr. Mazza a lot because he's a Benedictus Pope guy like I was.
Well, you know what, Michael? What I'll do is I'll get in touch with Timothy and thank you for the call. What I wanted to do was I want to have him on the show again because I wanted to talk to him about Pius X, because there's some really interesting things there about warning right there at the tail end of the 19th century going into the 20th about modernism, Marxism. You know, what we're looking at here, almost like warning against the Frankfurt School way of doing things. And these are major cultural warnings. Anybody can read and go, well, this guy saw the writing on the wall. I'm sure a lot of people did. But here's something interesting. I've been reading a lot about the theories about Francis being illegitimate. Obviously, that's not too crazy. Those have been out there for a long time. But part of what some people have said is evidence that this guy was a heretic and he was an anti-pope is the way that his body was decomposing so rapidly. People were, I made a comment about how, this guy, him laying there, he was like gray from day one, just totally gray. And I know they don't do a lot of embalming. It's like partial. They just do certain types of dressing and why. I don't know what the hell it is. But I read that it was, I think, Pope Paul VI was a nightmare when he died. I think it was Pope Paul VI. I read that when he died, it was an absolute nightmare for the time that he was laying in state. He was decomposing so fast and the smell was so bad. And they were just turning dark, black. It was just awful. Because there's no embalming and stuff like that they actually, I think that there was some kind of change to the policy on how a pope lays in state afterward because of whatever. But again, Pope Paul VI, that's the guy who played a crucial role in the Second Vatican Council and in including its completion and implementation. So, some people theorize that perhaps the way the body was decomposing in such unflattering and quick, disgusting ways was proof positive that these men were working against the true nature of the faith and everything else like that, and they had subverted the faith and in some way. I don't know. I thought that was really interesting. Anything that takes a spooky turn, tell me a little bit more. Anyway, so let me know what you think about that. Call in. We've got the Pope thing. We got the first 100 days. What's this? Finally, Hansen closed with this. Trump's first 100 days have been revolutionary. And you let me know what you think about that. There are things that I know I don't like. There's a lot of, in dealing with things like anti-Semitism on college campuses and things like that. There's a lot of things where I don't need to take a side on what is being said to know that speech cannot be abridged. And at the same time, I don't want federal government subsidizing universities. Don't want that. Same thing with PBS. He's going after, he's going after PBS. He's going after NPR. Even Donald Trump talking about it, writing about it in the press conferences about, how these are left-leaning media outlets. And they are straight up commie rags. No doubt about it. But that's not why PBS and NPR need to have had their funding cut since the day after they were given the funding. It has nothing to do with it. Okay? It wouldn't be okay if they were pro-American. Like if they were so red, white, and blue, it still would not be okay. It's state media. It's unconstitutional. There is no place for us to be funding that. None. So it's like I can give and take certain things, and I don't go all in on anything just because it's our team versus theirs. If there's going to be anything learned from this, who knows? Is there going to be a restoration of the American Republic? Are we ever going to be able to change things and get everybody to understand why they need to change? I don't know. I don't think the culture's ready for that. But at least you and I can learn something. At least that we can preserve our own critical thinking faculties as patriots, not necessarily nationalists. Okay? That whole Proposition Nation thing is another thing we push back on. We're patriots. But let's listen to the last thing that Victor Davis Hanson said on this.
So what am I getting at? forget what the media says, forget what his opponents said, forget Mr. Garcia, forget Mr. Luigi Mangione, all of these distractions. The first 100 days have been revolutionary. We've never seen anything like it. Not during the Reagan administration, not during FDR, in terms of the magnitude of the changes. And that is why people are furious. No one in their right mind thought anybody would try to stage a counter-revolution and be so successful in the first 100 days.
Yes. And to make that 100 days into 100 years, we're going to need legislation. We're going to need legislation, and we're going to need strong state governments who will refuse to go along with any kind of realigning of federal roles on all of these issues. The federal government's role in all these issues, which are not, it's a non-role. There is no role. You know, that's what I'm talking about. Here, after Trump ended taxpayer funding for leftist propaganda network, PBS. Yes, it's a leftist propaganda network. But that's not why it should have been defunded. It's an added bonus because, again, it shows just how this leftist incursion over time has been able to just sink its fangs into the carotid artery of this country and just create its own little play box. And actually, I mean, it's just sick. So take a listen to this.
The president tweeted or socialed or truthed, Republicans must defund and totally disassociate themselves from NPR and PBS, the radical left monsters that so badly hurt our country. I have to tell you, I heard monsters and I thought of Cookie Monster. I thought of
did too,
Sesame
actually.
Street, and I thought of that children's programming.
Right.
That is in many ways what people think of when they think of PBS.
Oh, really? I think of it when they think of it. She loves putting words together. This is my job. Fucking listen. The children are watching YouTube, you fucking wino. The children are watching Miss Rachel and Mr. Beast. Okay? That's what they're watching. HBO bought Sesame Street, 10 years ago? They're taking away our children's programming. No, the mimosa moms that run PBS just don't want their slush fund to go away. That's all it is. That's all it is. It's just so, and that's why it does give me enjoyment. I understand there's cheap enjoyment in all this stuff, and then there's a deeper issue. I get the cheap enjoyment. Sometimes I sit back and I go, good, dig deeper. Go ahead. What the hell does it matter? But yeah, yes, you guys give me a call. Give me a call after the break, because now we're going into the second half. I'll take a couple of your calls, and we have it until 8:20 when we bring on our guest for a cybersecurity update, because there's a lot of really interesting breaches. I don't know how many of you have even heard about it. But when we come back at 8 o'clock, right after this quick little breather, call up. I would love to fill up that 20 minutes with your calls. 914-200-0269, 914-200-0269, BRB.
Drives one to right field and deep. Going back, Caballero on the track, at the wall. See
ya. Hey, guess what I was doing before I went live on the air? I was laying down drum tracks with Derek. Derek came by, bassist of Set the Charge. Was already started sending out a few of these. like I said, everybody, if you become a sponsor this month, not only am I sending out more coffee and more keto brains to those of you who want to try it all, but if you pledge more than $10 on either Patreon, Subscribe Star, or directly through quitefrankly.tv, sending out the 2017 press copy of Sky Goes On. Because you know why? We got like 30 left, and that's so sad that we spent all that time recording it and all that time and money designing it and pressing it. It's got the shrink wrap and everything. Why are they just sitting in a closet? I said, I want to get these out to people. That'd be better off. So there you have it. And I was recording some songs, so there'll be some new music coming your way, and a lot more after that. This track that we were recording today is really chill. It's like going to be a hookah classic. That's what I'll say. And I really enjoyed it. It was good to be it's good to be playing something meaningfully again. So be on the lookout for that. I'll keep you updated, and maybe we'll get a really good music video made for it, so we have more break music as well. Okay, so the papacy. Everybody freaking out over the Pope costume. Or next 100 days. What do you think about that? Call me, 914-200-0269. Let's get to your super chats all over the place. Jay Britt says, off to another great week of excellence in broadcasting with quitefrankly.tv. Thanks, Frank. Thank you, Jay. And I hope you had a wonderful weekend, my friend. Thank you. Okay, over on YouTube, we'll check for those super chats in a little bit. And we have on Rumble, couple of Rumble rants. Hey, Rumble, showing some signs of life tonight. Wow. Dwayne221 says, looking forward to the cyber news. Keep up the good work, Frank. Don't forget to plug yourself. Keep the party going. I have a very hard, I know. I don't do it enough. And I just, you'll see. I'm rebalancing the show and just making things, I want to just give a lot more. So I've been loading people up with behind the scenes footage and behind the scenes interaction and, pictures every day, especially on Patreon and Subscribe Star. And I just want to find new ways of giving more for people who help keep the show growing. It's not just about treading water. We got to compete with much bigger new media operations out there. It's becoming the new corporate media in many ways. So we got to compete, but we got to remain independent. Jay Semo says, great start to the week. I'm 100% in agreement with you on Ukraine. Looking forward to listening to you and Zagami tomorrow. I'm looking forward to that too. And then 1C3 Box 87 gifted 5 subscriptions to Quite Frankly. What does that mean? I don't know what that means. Gifted 5 subscriptions of what? I don't know what that means. Oh, everybody else is getting it? Thanks for the gift membership. To who? Get yourself some Frank. IC3 Box 87. I can't thank you enough. That's really wonderful of you. I got to figure out how to make Rumble a little bit more like Patreon too. I know that there's a locals thing, but I don't know how it works. I don't know. I'll figure that out. More options for everybody. However you want to support the show, please do it. QuiteFrankly.tv. C. Blanche says, dealing with a bad earbud. Amen. What does that mean? Dealing a bad earbud? Tomcat NJ, I appreciate you, my friend. It's great to have you on. All right, let's take some more calls from you guys. We got Mike Rogan on before, but nobody else. We got so many people watching. I know the calls, the phones work. 914-200-0269. If you need something else, I'll give you something else. This right here from Newsweek last week on Lauren's birthday. Donald Trump's new order sparks martial law concerns. President Donald Trump has ordered military or federal agencies to increase the flow of military and national security equipment to local law enforcement, a move that has raised concerns about the militarization of policing across the United States. Research into the militarized police forces has found that the practice can erode public trust, escalate encounters between police and citizens, and blur the distinction between military operations and domestic law enforcement. We'll get into a little bit more of that. Let's take a call from Matthew Flores. What's going on, Matt?
Frankie, it's been a while, man.
It's been a while, yes, but it's so great to hear from you. What's on your mind?
Not a whole lot, man. I'm not trying to piss in your Cheerios about the PBS thing, but growing up, poor and not knowing it, shit, man. Like local TV was a big part of it. I mean, things were different back in the 80s and 90s.
Oh, dude, I understand. I listen. I understand, but it's like this with healthcare too, with Obamacare. When they had those town halls in 2011 and 2012, and people came out and they're like, I was able to see a doctor and blah blah blah. You say, well, I'm sure that when you rob Peter to pay Paul, Paul is going to show up and say, this worked out great for me. And when it comes to PBS, I watched Sesame Street as a kid as well. And you're right. The fact that it was a good, wholesome product for a long time there, it doesn't take away the fact that the end result, now that we're at the bottom of the slippery slope, is testament as to why it's not a good idea to establish these organizations in the first place. Now, the real question is, how can you get good media organizations like PBS or something like that funded without having to go through government grants or anything like that? There's got to be a way to fund these things a little bit more. It's easier now because everything is crowdfunded, everything is on the internet, it's subscription based and whatever. But I understand what you're saying. There's a lot of good memories and good years of public education that was delivered by PBS.
I couldn't have said it better, man. It's been over 20 years since I've watched anything on PBS. I mean, maybe what was that? The Antiques Roadshow, maybe occasionally, but
that was on PBS.
I believe so.
Oh, I don't know.
I could be wrong, but I believe that was PBS who did the Antiques Roadshow.
And well, listen, I'm glad you called up with that point because it's a point I'm sure a lot of people were hoping would be made.
Hey, if I watch it today, I might be seriously disgusted. So,
yeah, I'm sure there's things that would make us all roll our eyes: social justice, this and that, equity, this and that, boys and girls, and boys and girls can do everything boys can do. I'm sure that it is just soaked with it in very overt and covert ways. But like you said, It's been decades since you've watched. It's been probably just as long for me too. So.
Yeah. All right, Frankie. Great show.
Thank you, sir.
Talking to you, man.
Well, thank you. It's always good to hear from you, and thanks for the support. Let's take a call. Daniel, go ahead.
Hey, Frank. How you doing tonight?
Oh, doing all right. What's on your mind?
Oh, not much. We were talking about how everything has affected us financially, right? So I'm out here in Quad Cities. I'm on the Illinois-Iowa border. So actually, I haven't seen a damn thing from Trump. I'm not saying that I don't support him still, but like here on the Illinois side, our taxes are high, our prices are high, but we go over to Iowa to go get our gas. So, for instance, gas here in Illinois is like $3.25, something like that. I go over to Iowa and it's like $2.99, $2.85, something like that. Depends. But I guess what I'm saying is that as much as I want to support Trump, and I still do, I haven't seen a thing from him, but I still support him.
Well, I am, and that's why I wanted to know after 100 days. I mean, you think about what's being negotiated now on international trade and what has been put into practice on domestic energy production. And I mean, these are things that when we were talking about, a couple of weeks in, when these harridans on the other side of the aisle were always like, well, the eggs are still high. Like, and then and what we were talking about at that time, we were talking about the life cycle of chickens. We're talking about energy prices for shipping things around. We're talking about all the things that keep prices high. And what would the timeline be for things to actually start moving and shaking? I didn't expect anything before the middle to end of summer to start really cracking. But I don't know.
I'm going to be honest too. I never saw a differentiation in eggs really. Like around here, you pay $3-4 for a dozen eggs. It's those bleached white fucking probably chemically induced bullshit. And the farm raised ones you still get at the store, they're still $6, $7, $8, and you buy them, and they could still be chemically infused. It's it's a price we pay, but unless we want to get out there and raise our own chickens and whatnot, that's what we got to deal with. It is what it is.
Well, I'll put it to you this way, and thank you for the call, Daniel. And you don't have to qualify anything you say with who you're supporting, all that. It's fine. I wanted to know have you seen anything that has moved the needle for you yet, or no? This was going to take time, one way or another. But I wonder, what is the trigger for a dozen eggs to come down? Like, for example, and I know that we're going to have Robin McCutcheon on the show again later in the month, maybe sometime around the 27th. I think it's maybe the day after Memorial Day, Robin McCutcheon comes back on. So I got to try to remember to ask her this. But what is really the trigger for things to come down? Let's say that the price of energy for shipping comes down. Gas, that all ties into it there. But the fact that when the chicken population starts coming around, maybe there's a good crop yield, they start really alleviating the stress of some of the farmers right now. Who knows? Let's say that on the production end of things start getting better. Who's the first farmer who goes to the farmer's market that says, well, we're still charging $9 because I pay around $9 a dozen with the farmer I know at the local farmer's market. With the Amish that I get from Pennsylvania that is delivered in, those are still hovering around $8.25, which is what I've been paying, I feel like, for years. Okay, but that is just no soy, no grain, no antibiotics, no nothing, and I don't even care what the price is. Just what it is. But I wonder, with the farmers who, because of one thing or one cost or another, or something that has impacted their business that kept them raising the prices 50 cents a dozen until we get to $9.25 to $10 for jumbo eggs. I wonder what has to happen for them to say, okay, I'm going to drop this back down to $8 because things are doing well. I just figure it has to be somebody that comes in and starts competing. Somebody that comes in and sees that everything is sky high and that supplies really have alleviated a lot of the pressure, and they want to be the one that vents the radiator here and says, I'm going to sell it to people for $8 again, just to bring everybody down to earth. Because I have to imagine that after all those years of hiking the prices because you have to, if all of a sudden what it takes for you to produce a dozen eggs really shakes out to about $7 a dozen, and you're still charging close to 10 for your jumbos, wouldn't you keep it there for at least as long as you can to make more profit now that the overhead has... I just feel like there has to be some sort of a trigger within the market. Something like new people have to come around and say, I'm going to undercut people and I'm going to take all their business away. And then everybody else just follows suit. Because for me, if I had razor thin margins that caused me to, and begrudgingly, raise my prices for whatever I'm supplying to people, and then suddenly I see that overhead and cost of production has gone down and my margins widen just a little bit, I would be more than inclined to keep it there for a little while. Just to stack some cash, especially since you don't know, you go through a bad winter, you go through, especially, the political changes and all that stuff. I don't know. There's just a lot of considerations I'd like to know about. Let's take another call. Let's see here. Dirk, you there?
Hey, I'm right here. How you doing, Frank?
Welcome to the show. Go ahead.
Hey, I just got to start out by saying I hated Electric Company. I hated Sesame Street. I was more like a Mr. Rogers type of guy. But you looking back, I don't agree with the government funding any of it. It's like if you like the show, they'll get sponsors. People will obviously pay for it themselves.
Yeah, you know what? Over here, I don't know what it was. And I know Mr. Rogers, I just had to go check. It was originally broadcast on national educational television before transitioning to PBS. So, I mean, that's another thing that people would say. But then again, you think about who is Fred Rogers and what was he bringing to American children for decades? And you'd be very hard pressed to say that you wish you can go back, snap your fingers, and make all of those years of Fred Rogers, at least the way that we remember it right now, go away. Now, where would he be able to fund that project, and how would he be able to bring that program to millions and generations worth of children? I don't know. So it's one of those things where it was good, it went bad, and it's just the nature of the beast when you give responsibility to a central authority that is by its very nature political. And it's sad, but at the same time, I feel like the one thing we can say for ourselves is the best we could have gotten out of it has already been gotten. The old school Sesame Street, Mr. Rogers, we already got the best. All the blood that could be taken out of that stone was completely wrung out years ago. So let's just get rid of it and say that it was, goodbye. No,
I agree. And again, and I'll just tell you, this weekend I joined your subscription plan, and I kind of feel bad. I've been listening for years, and I haven't supported, and so now I'm going to make up for it. And it's because this makes it all worth it,
Oh, Dirk, where did you sign up? Where did you sign up?
Subscribe Star, I think.
Oh, so then I must have sent you a welcome message then.
You did. Yep.
Okay. All right. So then you're okay under an assumed name over there. Well, thank you so much, my friend. And like I say, just to the general audience, I am going to make sure that I do so much work over here that that you feel like your value has been tripled from what you put in, and just thank you so much.
Well, I appreciate you so much. I've been listening for so long, and I just got one more question.
Yeah.
Because where the heck did Matt go? Miss Matt.
Yeah. Listen, I miss Matt too. He's my best friend, one of my best friends, my wedding party, and he just listen, something's up. And I have not gotten a lot out of him. I'll tell you this, and thank you for the call, because I have to get ready for whatchamacall, Skip from Patriot Protect. Matt, the shows that he was on from the election to maybe the one or two that he did after New Year's. No, I don't even know if we did New Year's. We did it might have been the Washington's death episode. Might have been the last one that we did. Whatever shows he appeared on between October and December, that's the only time we've seen him. And something's going on. And I don't know. As friends, we're all very perplexed. And I got to go take a call right now. But I had a friend. It pisses me off. Also concerns me. I know people just like it. You guys, you bond with a lot of the people I bring on the show, and that's the reason why I do it. But obviously, as personal friends, it's a little bit more dark for us. Like, what the hell's going on? And I have some ideas. I've had some ideas for a while. And today somebody sent me something. I was sent a from Shane in the chat room, in the YouTube. He sent me a shirt. He sent me a shirt that he designed that is just so awesome. Awesome. It actually made Lauren cry a little bit. She told me afterwards. She goes, when I saw that shirt, I cried. And it made it forth, and I had to text Matt again. I said, when are you going to get, I don't know. We have to talk. Tell me what the hell's going on. I can't keep getting, it's not just you. It's Aurora too. Aurora. Let's say it's Uncle Matt coming. What or Daddy? What do you think Uncle Matt's name is today? Because whenever she sees Matt, he'd always she'd say what's your name today? And he just makes some ridiculous name, and it's just one of those things. And she asks, is Uncle Matt coming to this? Is Uncle Matt coming to that? Oh, Uncle Matt's working. Uncle Matt's doing this. I know you guys care. But obviously something's going on that's making him not care about a lot, and I gotta figure it out. So thank you for the concern, and I'm sure somewhere down the line he will thank you too. Hopefully, I pray for that. All right, let me see here. I have to get a call on the air. I have to get a call with Skip from, where is he at? Let me see here. Boom, start. Good. Let me see where he is. Got to be in there. And I want to get into all these cyber breach news because there's a lot of stuff out there that you didn't even know. Okay, well, we're in, and we'll see when he shows up. In the meantime, oh, there he is. Perfect. A little bit of a sloppy transition, but still, I am so happy to bring on a good friend of the show. We met last October when I finally felt like a sign had come to me, and I said, and it was an email from my guest right here, Skip, and his partner James, who's not with us tonight. That told me about their company that can go and really take your identity and try to fortify it and give you a little bit better sense of security on the internet, which is very hard to do these days. PatriotProtect.com. You can find them on the affiliates page on quitefrankly.tv. But now they're just my go-to every few months or so whenever there is a new crop of news around the cyber world that invariably affects us all. Skip, how you feeling tonight?
Oh, buddy, let me tell you, business is booming.
Can imagine.
There is just an unbelievable amount of stuff going on in the cybersecurity space right now. Always good to see you. Always good to be on your show. Much appreciated to be able to talk to all your fine folks here in the audience.
Well, I'm glad that business is booming because that means that people are being proactive and they're not just complete sitting ducks. Because I again, every time you're on, we always talk about how if there's a will, there's a way, but so much can be remedied from just a little bit of effort. And what you guys produce is really something special. And now I want to go through this with you.
Yeah.
Here's a few things. Hertz Corporation, 1 million people affected. I'm just going to go through the headlines. Clio platform exploited by ransomware, personal and financial info stolen. Hertz. Are we talking about car rentals?
Yep, the one and only.
Okay, so what do you know about this?
Yeah, no, it was so there was a cybersecurity breach from a organization called CLOP, and they put a ransomware into some Clio software, which is used on kind of the back end for some of these enterprise businesses and that sort of thing. And they stole customer and employee data. They took credit card information. They took driver's license information because, of course, if you are a Hertz rental car, you have to provide them your driver's license to show that you're licensed to drive a vehicle. They also took some social security number information. And that's, of course, something that the company might ask for a driver for liability or, that sort of a thing. 1 million users. So if you have rented a car in any time in the last, several years or something like that, it's absolutely possible that your social security number, driver's license, and likeness is out there. It poses a real fraud threat.
And of course, social security numbers are always in the mix of all these breaches, and that's just a cherry on top of the actual social security system. Wasn't it the actual system that was hacked, or what was it again? The IRS? I forget.
It was, in this case, it was a kind of a back office software that's used for HR processing, that sort of thing.
Right.
It also hit a HR company called WK Kellogg, which some enterprises and organizations outsourced some of their HR functions to. That was a they reported it as an unknown number of consumers were affected, but they stole employee and vendor HR data, and many social security numbers were exposed. Whenever something like this happens, there's such little. It's like, you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. It's just your identity was stolen. Yeah, they might spend, $15 per year or something like that on your credit monitoring or something like that. But the reality is you're just kind of screwed. There's just kind of nothing to do. And so, when a cyber criminal, and there's another big piece of this which just came out today, which I really want to talk about after this. When this information is leaked onto the dark web and then matched up against the public database information about you, which is what our service does, is remove you from these public databases. When you mix those two things together, I mean, between social engineering and and using your likeness, I mean, this is how people lose their nest eggs. This is how people get their social security checks stolen. This is how they get their Medicare benefits taken away from them. This is how, you lose everything because somebody calls up saying, hey, I'm your grandson. And I need you to wire me, $17,000 to bail me out because I'm stuck in some prison south of the border, whatever. There's a lot of different ways that can be exploited.
Social security numbers, social security breach. Let me see. What was the big one from last year? There was
we'll have to narrow it down.
Well, I mean, that's what I'm talking about here. There was, what is this, September 9th, 2024, over 270 million. This is from News 5 Cleveland. Over 270 million Americans may have had their social security number leaked on the dark web, the latest breach involving national public data. So this is from everywhere. Microsoft is talking about the NPD breach, the Vox massive. This is it. Vox says 272 million social security numbers. Then, of course, we're talking about, I think the last time you guys were on, we might have been talking about Doge and what they were discovering, just on the books at Social Security with all the people that are just impossibly old and God knows what's going on there. Every breach I see involves Social Security numbers. And when I think about those concerted breaches like the ones back in September and in August of 2024 we're talking hundreds of millions. It's just like these are just the cherries on top over here. And it's one thing when Chase sends you a fraud alert because somebody bought a Jack in the Box burger in Wisconsin and obviously it wasn't you. They send you a new card in a week and everything is hunky dory. But you have to know your social security number was actually stolen. And then how do you get a new one? If you know that what do you do with your social security number if you know it's been exposed? And it just might be a matter of time before somebody sells it to a criminal to open up a line of credit.
Yeah, that's exactly correct. The danger of it is, of course, since 2017, since the Equifax breach of 2017, it was it was the same on the order of magnitude of 250 some odd million Americans had their social security numbers and all their other details breached. Where we start to get worried is, yes, of course, we are all, as a result, at risk of having our identity stolen. But what the point of a service like ours is that you want to become a higher cost target to the scammers. They're looking at this, spreadsheet or, Microsoft Access database of all of these different names, and then they're matching that up with what information they have about you such that they can do social engineering scams, pig butchering scams, all that sort of stuff. And so the question is, can they match those two things together and squeeze something out of you, whether you know it or not, whether that's a scam where they see that you're particularly vulnerable to, being scammed yourself, whether it's a romance scam or something like that, whether you have a grandson or a grandchild or a child that could be targeted as saying that they're in need and they use AI to mimic their voice when they call you on the phone. That's another thing that they can do. They case you. They figure out what they can do. And so the importance is make yourself a higher cost target to them, such that you're not the one that they, be the wolf among the sheep, to make sure that you're not the one that gets targeted, by making it much more difficult for them to target you.
Okay, so let's well said, and let's go through a couple more of these. Now, the Hertz, real quick, when was the Hertz Corporation breach?
Oh, so all of these that we sent you, this was in the last like 3 weeks.
Get out of here.
No, I'm not. No, this is just our digest from April.
Okay, so then let's go to the next one. Verisource Services, 4 million people affected, HR data stolen in a cyber attack, names, social security numbers, and addresses exposed. Here's another one. Blue Shield of California, 4.7 million people affected, misconfigured Google Analytics leaked sensitive insurance and medical details for 3 years.
Yeah, this is the one actually that caught my eye the most out of all this, because with the other ransomware exploits, it kind of like makes sense in the sense that, the scammers are looking through this infrastructure for little cracks in the armor to see where they can get in, encrypt the database, and then ransomware such as that, some poor schmuck logs in at 8 o'clock in the morning on Monday, and they see that the entire database has been locked down, encrypted, and, they give you a Bitcoin address to say, if you don't give us $75,000 by the end of the week, we're going to delete all this. That I kind of understand in the sense that, there's kind of engineering behind that. But this, the Blue Shield of California, with, almost 5 million people affected, using Google Analytics and Google Ads. We've been kind of monitoring this and looking to see if there's any copycat exploits, because this is one of the things that really had our head scratching. If it's, Google Analytics and Google Ads should not be mingling with, as it says there, your private health information, your PHI. And so, it's not, it's a really worrying step to know that this is something that can be not only your personal profile can be identified, but matching it up with your actual health information. That's spooky.
Oh yeah, and here's what's spookier. Now there's another one. There's another one on the list over here that I knew we might be talking about because I received some correspondence about it. And this is Yale New Haven Health, 5.5 million people affected, likely ransomware, medical and personal data copied. Skip, they reached out to me on this one directly because this is a hospital network in which my daughter was born in 2020. And they wanted to assure me that her information may have been, it was safe, but may have been exposed, I forgot what they were saying, what exactly, I don't know. But what are their the whole point here is when we've seen these, especially since you, me, and James have been covering this in the time we've known each other, my question is, what are their assurances worth when so many of these headlines about breaches usually come along with added information later on about how long they've known things were out there and they didn't tell anybody because they were just scrambling like chickens with their heads cut off. So this was incredible because, of course, I mean, this is 5.5 million people affected, and that's mostly New England area.
Yeah. I mean, it's an enormous failure. And, in this case, it's like, what choice do they have but to, pay off the ransomware, because there's just not they can't discontinue continuity of services to their current patients, so it's just an unbelievable failure. And they what could they do? They had to pay. So to your question, like, what is the recourse? What can they do about it? This isn't a thing where like credit monitoring will help, although it may kind of mitigate that risk. This is just like, you left the window open when someone was taking a shower, and it's just that there's no justice in it. It's something that happened. We are, I think, in kind of a golden age of cybersecurity, and then maybe this is a good segue to the other insane story that I wanted to talk to you about that came out today. We're in a golden age of cybersecurity in that everybody needs to be taking some sort of proactive action to make sure that they're safeguarding themselves. What we just listed is just something that happened in the last month. And so if you are sitting there saying to yourself, like, well, geez, I haven't I haven't been doing credit monitoring, or I haven't, used a service like Patriot Protect to make sure that, cyber criminals can't match up my profile with, my home address, or my children's information, or my relatives, or my workplace, or my address history, or something like that. If you're sitting there and you're thinking, I haven't done anything in the last, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months to address my cybersecurity, then it's likely that you're going to receive consequences as a result. Whether that's, being targeted for scam calls, harassment, those weird texts that are just saying like, hey, I couldn't make lunch. And then you text them and saying, wrong number. And then they say, hey, this is Alice. What's your name? You seem nice. That's how they try to, they're fishing for you. They're just putting the hooks out there. And so the question is, if you're not taking any action, however little it may be, to try to safeguard yourself, then you're just one of the sheep. And there's a wolf that's protecting themselves when you're not.
Well, I gotta say, since I've worked with you guys, there has been a lot less. But even with working with you guys, it just shows how bad going out there with nothing really is, because I still get these ridiculous fake USPS text messages. That's a very popular one right now. These fake text messages from the USPS about you have something waiting for you here. The fact that every smart device now comes with, when you delete a message that comes in, there's automatically a report spam button there too. They understand it's just all over the place. The likely spam calls, they don't always just completely go away, and it's just we're blitzed constantly. I don't know. It's like putting up one of those bug catchers in the backyard. You get a lot of them, but it's just so invasive, the whole thing. So here is I don't know if you want to get into this, if this is the big story you're talking about. Is the crypto heist you're talking about?
It actually wasn't, but I did also want to talk about that. This I sent in the Zoom thing, the other one that I want to talk about, but this one in particular is specifically important for our services, because this one I still can't believe that this happened, and I still can't believe. Okay, let me give you the high level of this. The high level of this was a sophisticated cyber criminal operation exploited publicly available data, which is the stuff that we safeguard against, and they social engineered to steal $250 million in a single cryptocurrency wallet from one cryptocurrency's early investor that had this cryptocurrency wallet, this Bitcoin wallet, since 2012, if I'm not mistaken. And so what they did was they gathered personal information from public databases and the online platforms. They used the data by impersonating trusted contacts to manipulate the victim into giving his sensitive information out. And then they authorized this large crypto transaction. Now, the sensational part of this story is that these kids they're like Minecraft kids. They met on like a Minecraft server. They're children, So what they did was this kid ended up buying a Lamborghini Urus.
Of course,
that's the SUV. It's like a $200,000 SUV. Driving it to high school in Jersey, and it kind of all went bad. You remember that scene in Goodfellas where they do the Lufthansa heist, and then Maury or whatever goes and buys like the pink Cadillac.
Yeah.
And Jimmy is like, you got to take it back. You got to get it out of here. You just got to take it.
It's my mother-in-law. It's my mother-in-law's name. It's my mother. It's a gift from my mother-in-law. Oh man, I'm gonna have to watch Goodfellas again.
Right. So they did exactly what you shouldn't do, which is go out and flaunt their money. It was, I encourage anybody to read it because it's pretty hectic. But what it ended up happening was this kid got in deep with some folks as a result of his flaunting, and his buddies, he ended up helping his buddies conspire to kidnap his own parents. And it just so happened to be that there was an off-duty FBI agent. This happened in Danbury, Connecticut. An off-duty FBI agent to that saw this happening. Like they rented a white van, drove it up from Florida, and then found the parents at like 8 in the morning or something, and tried to kidnap them. And then they ended up a mile down the road getting busted. But again, this all came down because some hackers looked up somebody's public information from one of those sites that we protect you from or whatever, like, Yellow Pages or True People Search or BeenVerified.com, that sort of thing, and social engineered to steal $250 million.
That's nuts. It's just so
unbelievable, nuts. Sensational story.
And just so you know, because I had to go and I had to just double check the character's name. The one who showed up at the bar after the heist in Goodfellas is Johnny Roast Beef. Johnny Roast Beef and his wife, and they were later found in that pink Cadillac. They were
yep, yes, they were.
Yeah, you can't do that. You have to just keep yourself driving the Corolla and stay out of sight, and that's what you do. Well, okay, so with that, let's get to the crazy story, and then I want to wrap up and let everybody know how they can work with you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So wild story here. So I mentioned before pig butchering scams.
What does that mean? That's not literal, right?
No, it doesn't. But what it really means is the allegory is to say that like the scammer kind of fattens you up right before he slaughters you. And really what it looks like is this is a lot of times these are single people, maybe older folks that are a little bit more. What they try to do is they tug on people's loneliness, and by saying like, hey, you seem nice, these are kind of those weird texts that you get. And the more you respond to them, and just for the record, don't respond to these, just delete them, report them as junk, whatever. You respond to them, and eventually it comes down to, some sort of romantic thing or friendship or endearing. And they say, look, I'm doing well investing crypto, and they'll show you, screenshots of returns. And they say, if you invest, I can give you these sorts of returns. And so they encourage you to wire them Bitcoin.
Oh, this is like the George Clooney scam.
Yeah, yeah. So you eventually give more and more. They show you fake returns, like they'll say like, oh, your portfolio went up 12% this month or week or whatever. And eventually they're taking more and more and more. And then, in the worst case scenario, you say, hey, I'm gonna, fly out to see you wherever in the world that may be. And then, you get to the airport to meet the love of your life who you've been talking to for the last 6 months, and turns out there's no one there.
Yes.
It was a dude the whole time. It's a terrible story. So the question, what happened with this, and I sent you the link in the Zoom chat here.
Okay.
So reading here that came out today, we've been tracking this story for a couple months. But basically in Myanmar, in the country of Myanmar, in Burma, they have essentially these internment camps where they have practically enslaved or indentured servitude people.
Yep.
That are being forced to scam Americans via, and I'll read from this in a little bit, but they do these pig butchering scams. So this came out today. The Bloomberg article says U.S. targets junta-linked militia in Myanmar over scam compounds. So I'm just reading here. It says
this is a follow-up. But by the way, everybody on this show knows about this. When the news on this broke, it feels like it broke back in March for the first time or something like that. This is the first follow-up we've had with this since then. So we are. You don't have to go too deep into it because I want to conserve time. So just get to the best parts because we are familiar.
Absolutely. So yeah, long story short, these cybercrime syndicates have these multi-billion-dollar crypto scam operations, and these workers are trafficked there, and you can see like a picture of one of the compounds, which is like very sophisticated. It's maybe it doesn't show unless you're a subscriber or something. But anyway. This is a significant portion of cyber scam operations targeting Americans that are coming through Southeast Asia. And it should say the Treasury Department said on Monday that Americans lost about $3.5 billion in 2023 because that's the only most recent data that they have compiled about this. So again, this is by our count, we're seeing it's at least double. If you think about how many taxpayers there are out there in the United States, the chances are that you're going to lose some hundreds of dollars this year as a result of this. So the question really is, do you want to be one of the ones that are victimized, or do you want to be one of the wolf among the sheep?
Okay. Here's the question I have for you that we can roll into one big final topic, because I look at $3.5 billion that was approximately taken from people in scams in 2023 alone. And I think about the money that we're knocking around right now. I think about the debt that we have. I think about the declarations from Doge about how efficient they want to make a government work and all that stuff. And then I see this, and these are the untold losses. It's probably far more than 3.5 billion. And I think, okay, well, you can go and sign up as an individual. You can go and sign up at patriotprotect.com for what, a nominal fee of like $9 a month. And you have always this always evolving technology that is just scanning and crawling the internet for sensitive information, having it removed and all that stuff, and making sure that dots are not very easily connected on any one person.
Right.
But outside of what a person can do as an individual, which they should look into, if you were to sit down, I think I asked you and James this the last time you were on, because it was post inauguration when you guys came on last, I think.
Yeah.
If you and James could sit down and you had the president's ear, and you said, listen, there are, everybody's security and privacy really is in a large degree their own personal responsibility. But there are things that the government should and can look into that could by and large be a wonderful shield for us as a collective, country.
Yeah.
Is there any new ideas that you have as you see all these big scams and these breaches and everything else that you think could be done top down, instead of course, what you mainly advocate is people take control of their lives and bottom up, but top down? Is there anything that could be done right now that would be able to help at least nip things like this, $3.5 billion from literal slave operations in Myanmar?
Yeah.
Can that be nipped in the bud, or is it just something that's just, it's too hard to do that?
Great question. And what I really like that you said is that the actual number is very much underreported. And the reason that that's the case too is that this is a very shameful thing. If you get scammed like this, who are you going to tell? Why would you broadcast that? Why would you tell people? You're embarrassed. It's and look, we talk to customers all the time that say tell us their woes and tell us how upset that they are. That they don't know who to talk to about this, that they didn't know that there was something that could be done. I am very appreciative that the Trump administration has taken action against this in Myanmar, by using the Treasury Secretary to sanction the people that are profiting off of this in Myanmar. And by the way, they're laundering North Korean money too by doing this. So I would sit them down and I would say that these people search sites need to be made illegal. James and I started this because these people search sites are not illegal, because they are out there and they are allowing this international cabal of criminals to target people that we like, to target people, family members. And anybody that's listening, think about who the people in your life who have been affected by this. I mean, not just you being annoyed by getting scam calls all day. And by the way, on the other end of every single one of those scam calls is one of these human
Slaves.
Trafficked people that are these poor souls that are just being done, doing this for somebody else's profit. But yeah, sitting them down and telling them at a minimum, these people search sites need to be made illegal. And also using the FCC to the fullest of the extent that they can to clamp down on these scam calls. The way that these scammers get to you from 10,000 miles away is right into your pocket, while you're driving to work, while you're having lunch with your family, while you're spending time, on a weekend trying to, you toil in the garden or whatever you want, and your pocket's ringing because somebody's trying to, convince you to invest in crypto, or are you over 65 and eligible for Medicare? All of those things are weaponizing you because these people search sites are cataloging everyone's name, address, age, relatives, email addresses. And so, look, we would be very happy to not be hard at work, toiling to try to protect our customers with this. We would love to be doing other things.
Well, and it's not only that, but there are other layers. There are other layers to it as well. It's just that the main thrust of the work is that those sites. I'm glad you brought that up. I didn't even think that you would address that, because I don't know to what degree. I mean, it doesn't seem like it should be legal. When you think about it, because the only reason why I don't think about it as much in that respect, and I'm starting to think about it right now because it's so much more invasive, where these sites, you go and you look for somebody's name, they pop up, and they're not only giving you a full family tree of everybody they can find, where they live, not only the current address, but past addresses, all types of telephone numbers and stuff like that, but they even categorize what political parties you belong to. They make, and all of the net worth estimations are usually way off base and false, but still they portend to give you a financial net worth of the people you're searching for, or that you just stumble upon. I mean, I just know that because I've searched myself years ago, and it's telling me what I'm making based on how many subscribers I have on YouTube. And I laughed to myself, wishing that it was true. But at the same time, I think maybe subconsciously I said, well, that's creepy, only because it's the internet. But, growing up in before the internet, anybody who is my age, a little bit younger, but definitely older, remembers every month getting a new gigantic fat book of yellow and white blubber that plops onto your front porch, and it has the name of every damn person for miles and miles and miles, their address, the phone book showed up at your front door, unwanted. I mean, Yes. I guess we just grew up with the phone book just being delivered to us constantly, yellow and white pages, and maybe that just subconsciously makes us okay with what the internet turned into, at least for now, until you see what it really turned into, and it's not ethical at all.
You totally nailed it. You totally nailed it. This was we were frogs in the boiling water. We didn't even notice it was this bad until it got this bad, and now we're getting burned. And so, the question, like you said, I mean, if you break our service down, it's like less than a quarter per day or something like that. And so the question that you might have in your head is like, do I have anybody working on my behalf? Who's my security detail in the background for my online presence? And like you said, you've been receiving many fewer scam calls. My phone rang today, and I was surprised because I was like, I haven't even had one in so long. Because we've been at this, and the reason that we're here is to be your private security detail for your online presence. And if you don't have one, then good luck to you, frankly. Well, because chances are you're going to get scammed.
Either way, I appreciate you coming on again tonight, Skip. And ladies and gentlemen, Skip and James of patriotprotect.com. That's patriot-protect.com. They're on the affiliates page on quitefrankly.tv. They're very easy to get in touch with. It's a very user-friendly website. Ask them questions. And yeah, it's not only what I recommend it for yourself, but might even be a good gift for people, especially your elderly family members, anybody who needs just a little bit extra buffer there in a world that, like I said, it's the bug zapper in the backyard. It's something. And it's a really good something too. But thank you for the roundup of headlines. It's always very stark, but it's good that we're on the same page. And thanks for everything, Skip.
Hey, buddy, listen, I can guarantee you that next time you have me on, there will be plenty more to talk about.
Oh, I can't wait. For some reason, again, I always talk about how bad news is sometimes cozy.
Of course. Well, that's always going to happen.
It's like everybody, okay, guys, gather around the fire. We have some more bad news, but that just means that tomorrow you'll be more focused. And that's right. That's all it is. Thanks again, man, and hope everybody goes and checks out the site.
Always a pleasure, Frank. Appreciate it.
Take care. All right, ladies and gentlemen, there goes our guest for the evening. And I'm glad that you guys got to hang out with us. There is that. PatriotProtect.com. Imagine that all just within the last couple of weeks. We're talking, I don't know, 4 million, 5 million, 4.5 million. I mean, we're almost tens of millions of people. These are major hospital networks and everything. Yale, New Haven, that's everything. That controls Greenwich Hospital all the way up the line into New Haven. Probably beyond that. I don't know. All right, let's get to your super chats, and then away we go. Let's see here. Over on YouTube, Ray from NJ, Radar, says, Frank, thank you so much for the compliment, my friend. And that's very... You're a skilled and creative man. So far, you're, yes, married to a wonderful woman, together created a beautiful child. Thank you for the persistence. Hey, you know what, man? Thank you for being around. You've been around for a long, long time. One of many people who have. And yeah, the persistence will pay off. We got some deck shuffling to do, and I'm really excited about it because we have a lot to build on here, and I'm looking forward to breaking through some barriers with you all. And I appreciate you, Ray. That is the main. That's all I got out of YouTube tonight. That's the centerpiece right there. Ray from NJ. Thank you so much. All right, over on Rumble, we got a few more on Rumble. Let's see here. Mike Rogan says, regarding Paul VI, also remember lightning struck Vatican the night Benedict resigned. Lightning struck the statue of Peter on JB's birthday, and the announced the death of Bergoglio did not work. Let's see, what else do we have? I want to go into that a little bit more. Hold on, there's two more. Hey, would you blow me? Says, I tell spam callers to give me a BJ. And then let's talk about what they're selling. I don't get very many calls nowadays. I know. It's like, oh, don't call him. Don't call him. I see 3 box 87 says, tell these texts, arg, I'm gay. Yes. Tell all the texts. Oh, you know what I actually really enjoyed? I enjoyed all the political texts that I got last fall. I loved that. I loved it. Any Democrat group, especially, that got in touch with me last fall. Hey, can we count on your vote for blah blah blah? You can count on my whatever. Or because then what we would do is everybody's getting the same messages at the same time. So whether it be Anthony or Mike or Matt or anybody else in our circle of friends who was getting text messages in September, October, leading into November, we would reply in the way that we felt was funniest, and then we take screenshots and pass it to each other. So we were always trying to one up each other, and I hope that people were reading those. I really do. Oh, Icebox. I'm sorry. That was my 1C3 box 87. My bad. That was my X22 Dave moment. M3 Thods. And here's a tweet from M3 Thods. Sorry about that, Icebox. I'll never say it again. Oh, anyway, you guys have been great. Thank you for everything. Thank you, Swickly and Mighty Patriot and Raising Cane, all over on the pilled end of things on quitefrankly.tv. Tomorrow night, it'll be another good one. We've got Leo Zagami coming on. We're going to have a great evening. Stowe Stoop says, great Monday, Frank. And of course, all the Franklies. SL Patriot says, always enjoy your show. Well, thank you for being out there. And then Ray from NJ again. mirroring the wonderful things he said on YouTube. Well, I appreciate you guys, and have a good night. I'm looking forward to tomorrow at 7. Also, watch the morning coffee stream. You can go on YouTube, and the coffee stream is there. That was at 11 a.m. on this morning, as we do every Monday. And thank you so much. Become a sponsor. I want to send you some coffee. I want to send you some Keto Brainz, and I want to send you a CD. I have a couple of dozen more to give out because Derek delivered whatever he had in overstock tonight when we did our drum tracks. So, all right, guys, have a good one. Good night.
I'll catch you on the flip side.
Quite frankly is